Ever get those stacks of math exams back in school? You know the ones, more red ink than actual answers?
Yeah.
Not anyone's favorite, right? I'm
Yeah.
betting some of you listening can relate.
Especially when you're facing down like 100 introductory calculus exams.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you sent us this research paper on AI-assisted grading,
Hmm.
specifically using GPT-4 on handwritten math exams, we knew we had to dive into this with you.
Yeah.
Imagine, what if AI could actually tackle those mountains of papers?
It's a fascinating thought, but here's the thing. We're not just talking about AI like crunching numbers here. We're talking about deciphering the wild world of how humans write math,
Yeah.
complete with all the scribbles and the arrows and the crossed out sections
Right.
that make it a nightmare even for experienced graders.
Right, it's light years away from just typing neat equations into a calculator.
Yeah.
So how do you even begin to train an AI to handle that?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. The researchers actually tackled this from several angles. First, they had to teach the AI to actually read the handwriting.
Uh,
They experimented with both MathPix, which is a dedicated OCR software,
hmm
and GPT-4V, which has that visual component built in.
Right.
They wanted to see which one could translate, those chicken scratches into something the AI could actually work with.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
I bet just deciphering those scribbles is half the battle. Did
Right.
they find one worked better?
You'd think, right? But answer boxes, those squared students are supposed to write in.
Yeah.
They actually caused a surprising amount of trouble. Turns out students really do like to color outside the lines.
Uh-huh. No kidding. My margins were always a mess.
I'm sure yours were full of brilliant insights. But for AI, it meant that even the OCR had a hard time figuring out where the answer actually was.
Wow.
Interestingly, though, they found that sometimes GPT-4V actually did a better job on messy writing if they gave it the exam question as context.
So it's like if the AI has an idea of what it's supposed to be looking for, it can make sense of even the most questionable handwriting.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. But okay, say we've deciphered the answer. How do we actually get the AI to grade it?
That's where those grading rubrics come in. Those guidelines for what a correct answer should look like
Okay.
and how many points each step is worth.
Right? Which for a human grader can be pretty flexible. We could use our judgment, see if the student understands the process, even if they made a small error. Can AI actually replicate that?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? To test this, the researchers got really creative with how they presented those grading rules to the AI.
So how did they do that? Did they just feed the AI the same rubric a human grader would use?
They tried that. They gave it the whole shebang, even with like multiple criteria for a single answer.
Yeah.
Then they got even more specific, breaking down those complex rules into like really bite-sized judgments.
Okay, so instead of saying 2 points for correctly finding the derivative, it would be more like 1 point for using the power rule correctly, 1 point for simplifying the expression.
You got it. They wanted to see if that step-by-step approach made a difference for the AI. And remember, we're not just talking about like right or wrong answers here. They were also testing if the AI could figure out partial credit.
Right, because that's a huge part of grading math. Seeing where the student went wrong, if they were on the right track,
Hmm.
did the AI manage to handle that nuance?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. On the one hand, they found that rewording the grading rules didn't drastically change how the AI scored things, as long as the underlying meaning was the same.
That's actually kind of reassuring, right?
Mm.
It means the AI wasn't just getting hung up on keywords. It was trying to understand the actual concept behind the rule.
Exactly. That's a really important point. It suggests the AI was doing more than just pattern matching. It was demonstrating some level of actual understanding. But when it comes to those like finer grading distinctions, like consistently awarding partial credit, that's where the AI still has some catching up to do.
Okay, so it's not perfect, but how accurate were the grades overall? Did GPT-4 pass the math test, so to speak?
Here's the thing. It really depended on the type of question. Interestingly, it did surprisingly well on the ones with a high failure rate among students. Those tricky questions where a lot of people just drew a blank and got a 0.
So it's better at spotting a completely wrong answer than those, like, almost there attempts.
It seems that way. Now, this doesn't mean it's useless for those finer grading distinctions, but it does highlight an area where the technology is still developing. But you know what I found most fascinating about this whole study? It wasn't just about the accuracy of the grades. It was about the AI's confidence in its own grading.
Wait, what do you mean, like the AI equivalent of a grader second-guessing themselves?
Exactly. The researchers built in a way to measure this this AI confidence level. And there was a surprisingly high rate of the AI being very sure about a grade that turned out to be wrong.
Wow, that's kind of unnerving. You'd think if the AI was that confident it'd be right.
Right.
So what does this all mean? Should math professors be polishing their resumes and getting ready to be replaced by robots?
Not quite. And that's a key takeaway here. This research really highlights the potential of AI, but also its limitations, especially when it comes to something as nuanced as grading. It's not about replacing human graders anytime soon.
Okay, good. Because I think a lot of us learn best from actual humans.
Absolutely. And let's be real. Education is about so much more than just marking answers right or wrong.
Hmm.
But here's where it gets really exciting, at least for me. This technology could actually make human graders even more effective.
Oh, I like where you're going with this. How so?
Imagine AI flagging those potentially problematic answers,
Okay.
or those borderline cases where a second opinion could be helpful. It could be a game changer for managing workloads and giving students faster, more consistent feedback.
That makes a lot of sense. And it really emphasizes just how important clear, well-defined rubrics are.
Yeah.
Not just for humans, but for training AI to be a useful assistant.
Exactly. And, this whole deep dive really gets you thinking. If we can teach AI to grade math, even imperfectly, what other complex tasks might it be able to assist us with, down the line? It's a question worth pondering as this technology continues to evolve.
Absolute food for thought. One minute we're grappling with calculus, the next we're talking about robot graders. It's an exciting time to be a learner, that's for sure. We'll be sure to keep an eye on this field and let you know about any other breakthroughs on the AI-powered education front.
Always a pleasure to explore these mind-bending topics with you. Until next time.